What do you make of this recent stretch, offensively? It's a relatively similar group to last year. Why do you think the group has been so much more inconsistent than we saw a year ago?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it with the word recent. There's times of the year where, you overperform, in 10-game, 15-game stretches, and there's times where you underperform in those stretches. And so it's kind of striking the balance there and not kind of succumbing to the recency bias, but kind of taking a step back and trying to look at it, from a 10,000-foot view. And, I believe in this roster. I believe in this team and the players, that are here. And so it's just there's too much track record. There's too much these guys have accomplished. There's too much know-how. We've seen glimpses where the offense breaks out, and then we've seen glimpses where it hasn't all converged. And the club, the club's really built on the length of the lineup, and it's really built to kind of, pass the baton and put ourselves in good positions to succeed. And so, when you have a club that's, disciplined in the batter's box, and they can make contact when you get players in scoring position and you get those opportunities, that lends itself to run scoring. And so, I have the utmost confidence these guys are going to break out.
What have you seen from Max so far? Obviously he's coming off a rough start there and had the issue with the rods. And are you confident that he can work through this, or is it something that's concerning at all, that given the mileage that he's?
No, I'm confident in Max. One of the things that I've seen, if you ask me what I've seen, I've seen really irregular work, right? I've seen, 100 pitch outing at the end of spring, trickle into whether it was 90 or 95 that first start in Miami, and then 95 or 98 in the next start, and then, a lot of irregular, days and kind of pitch counts. And so, when you do that, when a guy moves down to 0 because of lingering soreness and he misses, time, and then he goes and he pitches 50, and then he gets, removed or ejected from the game, and then he has to endure a 13-game suspension. When you just kind of like graph that out a little bit, it looks turbulent. And so what you're looking for is a little bit smoother kind of takeoff, so that he can get to 30,000 feet. One of the things I know he talked about in that last outing was velocity. I think that was one of the things that he brought up. This year, we've seen him average 93.8 going into that start the other day in Detroit, and he was over a mile an hour below that in that start in Detroit. And we've seen him max out his peak velocity this year at 97.1. So it's there. It's just a matter of getting the consistency and just getting that trajectory and that cadence of pitching every fifth, every sixth day. So, no, I'm not worried about Max.
How do you feel about the performance of the rotation as a whole through 32 games?
That's been the part of our club that's that's probably hasn't put up the numbers that they've expected or that we've expected. And so with that group, I can tell you this, sitting here today on May 5th, we weren't expecting to use 22 pitchers, within the first month of the season. I think we've used the second most in baseball. And so, you prepare for that. And one of the things that we always talk about in the wintertime is building the depth. And, you're not foreseeing that you're going to have to use it in the first 30 days of the season. You're kind of thinking, around this time of year, you'd probably be more in the 15, 16 pitcher usage area. So, but I'll tell you what, the optimism, or there's reason for optimism. We've got Max back, we've got Justin back. We're looking at Carlos here pretty soon. He's fighting a stomach bug right now, so I think that's going to push back a rehab start, which is unfortunate, but, we're looking at him. And then, one of the things I told Petey when we went down, I said, there's a couple things for you to work on, but, by and large, the strikeouts, the walks, the things that really drive performance, they're there. And so, go down and get this stuff ironed out, but also it's going to be a competition here. That's what we want. We want to have it. We want to have a number of places to go in that rotation, and so there's optimism that getting that group back, getting the health, that they'll get to cruising altitude.
Coming into the season, you had lost Diaz, which was a huge loss for you. The bullpen still remains a strength of this team. Can you talk about that and how that happened?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we were talking about, prior to the WBC was, having 5 high leverage relievers. Right now with Brooks, Rayleigh on the IL as well, that's kind of 3, but some guys are emerging. Liked what we've seen out of Brigham so far, and so he might be getting a little bit more of a serving of that that leverage opportunity, but ultimately we'll get Brooks back. We expect that should be about a minimum placement in our mind, at least as I sit here today. But yeah, losing Edwin, that's a big thing, because you can kind of think about circumstances where we could use in a particular game 4 high leverage relievers, but very proud of how this group's been and how this group's done. One of the things I talked to Buck about with David Robertson was, Robbie can pitch in big spots. Personally, I've witnessed it, and his track record's shown that. And so, with the right handling, and Buck does a tremendous job handling the bullpen, one of the best I've seen. So he's not gonna push a guy down too much too early, and they kind of pay us back in kind with good performance. So always look to make the club better, and if opportunities present themselves where we can add and get back to 5 high leverage relievers, we're going to seize that opportunity if it comes.